Discovering the World of Natural Health from Remedy This Naturally at 1140 Bienvenue Road in the big city of Rocky Mount, North Carolina. We're here to help you understand about natural remedies, things that were the necessities of the past. I'm going to share today, it's going to be a little more personal, I should say, and who I am, what I do, why I do it, and help you understand and get into my space and let you know that what this is all about is helping people understand that the natural approach is God's approach. The natural approach is all because of the Garden of Eden, and these would make more sense to a person that is a Christian or understands Christianity, but it's also very remarkably in tune with people of other religions, other views than I have about some things. But all in all, everything that we do is to help you, no matter who you are, what your beliefs are, that your life and your well-being are dependent on how you treat the vehicle you live inside of. Now, I should say probably you live in this vehicle and it is the one that's taking you on your journey. Now, as we talk about the journey, why is it that there's so much sickness? Why is it that there is so much hard times and things that are going on? I challenge you to think about this. What is important for me, my body, my mind, my soul, my spirit? What is it that I need to be in tune with so I can have a better quality of life? Let me talk to you a moment about myself. I was raised in Warren County in a little town called Ridgeway. Now, Ridgeway is known for the cantaloupe capital, and that was something I grew up with and raising them. And it was part of what we did on our little truck farm. And it was to keep us busy. Daddy said, idle mind, devil's workshop. You need to learn how to work because your life is going to depend on how well you do your work. So with that, I had the opportunity, and it's called a truck farm, okay? And we raised the cantaloupes. My Uncle Carl, he did the tobacco allotment. And what was the tobacco allotment? Probably about a little over, between 1 and 2 acres. Wasn't a whole lot. Daddy didn't want to mess with it, so he, I guess you call, gave Uncle Carl the opportunity to pay him a certain dollar amount, and Uncle Carl would make all he could off of the tobacco he would raise on the farm. Now, as a child, when I was born, and that's usually the way we're born as children, right? Right. So, as I was born into the rural area of Ridgeway, then my health wasn't that well or good as a young'un. I had asthma. So, and you know, there was quote unquote nothing we can do for his asthma. You're just going to have to outgrow it. Old Dr. Forster, he was the guy that in North Carolina that was the one that helped deliver babies and take care of the medical needs of the people. That's who was our doctor. But one of the things that I attribute my growing out of the asthma aspect was sunshine, and I'm going to say laughter. Because if you'll hear me in my broadcast and we talk, you ask and you come in to remedy this naturally, at some point in time, I'm going to make this statement that your life and your health and your well-being is based on your laughter and happiness and your thoughts as to what you see coming your way. I trust you will take about that. Oh, why would I say laughter is a good one? Because a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. Yes, I may have weak lungs. I may have one of the remedies that was used back then, and that was if you got a little chihuahua and that little puppy dog slept with you on your bed, then the dog would take the asthma away from you, and you would have to be healthy because the dog took on what you were trying to deal with. Well, Pepper, my little four-legged friend, slept at the foot of my bed for the longest time. He was my buddy. And so we tried that old wives' tale out and helped out. I don't know, what was it? As I grew, the asthma went away. Was it the laughter? And a merry heart doeth good like a medicine? Was it the belief in believing that something would work? Now listen carefully what I just said. Is it the believing of my belief that I was going to get better because I was promised it, because this was something that would happen for me and the puppy dog exchanging my ill health if he had to suck it up and live with it? Don't know. But I do know that the other part was sunshine. I could tell you this, and this is not being ugly or anything, but the thing is, I wore shorts, that was it. And stayed in the sun all summer long, worked in the fields. This was after I got over being that little young'un. And sun, you know, everybody's talking about vitamin D. We got plenty of it. And it helped to build my immune system. So what was the good things that helped us with that? Let me see if I overlooked something. I read a little notes in here about my early history, my road to health and to wellness. And I wrote on here that my youth and therapy for my sickliness was bare feet, sunshine, and laughter. Those were the things. And I guess the other thing was we had a Gypsy, was our plow horse, and as I got older, we raised the cantaloupes, and cantaloupes grow on a vine. And so after the vines start growing together and they were touching each other, Dad would not let us put the tractor, the little small tractor, to cultivate on something that was called a middle buster, and he went down the middle of the road, got rid of the grass in the middle of the grass. That's so the grass wouldn't grow fast and we could find the cantaloupes when they got ripe instead of being under the grass. So we did that, and barefoot, sunshine, and laughter. And that's how I overcame the sickness. It was not a medication that was used for asthma, but it was a lifestyle that was used for the asthma. You know, what is it that is going on in our life? What is your testimony? What is baggage that you're carrying around that actually is part of your health not being good? So that was what was going on. So how do we gain health when we are born with weakness? We basically nurture our body. I'm talking about the physical aspect of it when I talk about the barefoot and sunshine and laughter. Right? Laughter can be a very spiritual thing as well. So as we continue to think about that, and I was thinking about, Claiborne, you talk about people remedy this naturally. People ask you situations about different plants and herbs, and you say that plant or that herb has historically been known to be able to help people with certain weaknesses in the body, and therefore if you give it the nourishment it needs, it will heal itself. And that's what I have figured out all along, that it was in the home as a young'un, and yes, there was a spiritual aspect that was very strong. Bible devotions, going to church, understanding that God was the final say-so with anything. That was important. And so over the years, starting out as a little one, was my foundation to watch how I was able to be better off because of the environment and the nurturing and nourishment of the environment and the foods that we're eating. There were some things that we did, of course. We had a garden. But I'll tell you one thing we did do that probably wasn't the best in the world. On some of these nice things, you had potato bugs, and you went and you shook the powder on them to get rid of them. And some of that powder was known as DDT, very highly toxic to the animals and the bugs, and helped us have pretty stuff. But what happened next is how I started thinking. My thinking was this: if my brother George, he's out there riding the Alice Chandler tractor, and on the back of that tractor there is a apparatus, and it actually has little tubes going off from it, and it has a canister type of bucket to dump in DDT and to take it and spray it on top of the cotton. Why would you spray it on top of the cotton? To get rid of Mr. Boll Weevil. And there was actually a song about that. You can look it up sometime. Maybe you might want to just hear it for the craziness of it, about the Boll Weevil. I just stop in and I'm thinking about the song and reminiscing. Basically, a lot of what we're doing right now, you're in my space because I'm sharing it with you to help you understand what we went through. And we would take the clothes, George would take his clothes off, strip, because you couldn't see him on that tractor when he was putting down that DDT. It was all in a dust form, and with a respirator over the mouth. And my question back then was, Mom, Dad, is George going to be all right because he sprayed that DDT on those cotton plants to get rid of Mr. Boll Weevil? If it'll kill the boll weevil, why won't it kill us? Why won't it hurt us? Well, the answer that comes back with that was, well, Mr. Boll Weevil is just a little bitty bug, and you are a healthy, vibrant young man growing up. So we've got enough of that poison to kill the boll weevil. Don't worry about it. You'll be all right. So, but that's the question. And I asked the question today. with all the pesticides and the different things that the people who grow our stuff, the farmers, is what they put on the plant to help keep it healthy away from the bugs and insects? And is it going to help it give it the opportunity to be a nice purity without blemish? I remember going to Aunt Mary's house. Aunt Mary had an orchard, and Mom was her sister, and we all got turns in going in to Uncle Carl's and Aunt Mary's orchard and picking apples and being able to eat them and enjoy them as fresh. Let me go back a little bit about talking on the farm and how we did it and enjoyed it, and the things that were available to us to eat, the things that we actually, as a little boy, I did do squirrel hunting, and I was never any good at rabbit hunting. I'll just tell you that right now. I thought one of the neat things about it was the guy who was hunting on the property behind the pecan trees down on the house there. He just said, "Claiborne, if you want to get a rabbit," he says, "when the dogs get the rabbit up and the rabbit starts running, you don't chase behind the dogs." He says, "You sit and wait and let the dogs run the rabbit. And what'll happen is the rabbit's going to run in a circle, come right back where it started off from in the rabbit bed, and you can actually bag you a rabbit." So that was the idea of hunting rabbit. I preferred more of the squirrel hunting because I had a little .22 rifle, and that's more of a bullet instead of a shotgun that has the pellets. That gives you more leverage on getting rid of them. So we were taught how to do that, and I was talking about that squirrel. Well, the squirrel were funny. They had keen ears, and as soon as you got to the woods, and Mr. Collins would let me come over and hunt in the grove of oak trees. Well, guess what would love to have some oak trees? It would be the one that liked to eat the acorns. So that was the squirrel. So what I learned to do is over the years you would just watch and listen and try not to make noise, but you found out that you want to be as quiet as possible and let the squirrel hear you and go hide. But sometimes that little squirrel wouldn't pull its tail in where it was hiding on the limb. And you could see his little tail hanging over the side. And so, but we would go hunting. We would get a squirrel, take him back home, skin him, and Helen, who helped us out at the house, she would cook that squirrel with the awesomest gravy that was. It was just good stuff. So I would say that I enjoy the squirrel and the rabbit hunting, and that was the biggest game as we hunted. But the thing is, what was the nourishment that was in that squirrel? That squirrel's been eating nuts. He's been eating he's a vegetarian. So the nourishment from the squirrel, the nourishment from the garden, the nourishment from Aunt Mary's orchard, all of these things were used for our eating purposes to help us to grow, help us to be able to be healthy and not be sickly, because we were putting into our body the good stuff. Well, let's take this, and I'm going to jump around a little bit on this one here. And let me go to talking about I was sickly. Yes, we kind of outgrew that. And you know, there wasn't a whole lot of doctrine going on except with Mr. Foster, or Dr. Foster, I should call him, give him respect. And yes, accidents would happen on the farm. Yeah, if you need to be sewed up, go get sewed up. And I understand how that was when had a lawnmower and I was taking the blade off of it and it got hold of my finger and I had to go see Dr. Foster to take and sew up the finger. But you know the funny thing about it was? It grew back. It attached itself and grew back. It healed itself on its own. All Dr. Foster told me was, son, keep it clean, and if it starts bleeding, hold it up and make sure you tighten it a little bit and then loosen it up before you go to bed at night. Put on clean dressing before you go to bed. So that's what we did. That's how we did. I guess one of the biggest stories, you know, I told you a little bit about my childhood, but the one that you've probably heard me say before was the health of my son, my firstborn. And how at the time we were living in Fort Wayne, Indiana. No, that's Fort Wayne, Indiana. And married, going to school, working, and had a son that just was kind of like sedentary. Didn't care too much for working. But let me just say this in his behalf. At the time, I did not know, and he did not know how to express that he was in pain. Is that when he moved and he got away from his desk where he loved to draw all these beautiful cartoon characters and figures, that it wasn't comfortable. So he was in pain, and the only way he knew not to have the pain was not do anything. So with that in mind, we continued to work with that and deal with it. And as I told you, I was going to school there in Fort Wayne, and had one of those episodes when we lived up in a little town called Auburn. And I just had to say, look, son, the yard ain't that big. The push lawnmower is not bigger than you. Would you please cut the grass? And I was trying to accommodate. He did. And so got it, did a good job, congratulated. I was happy because he was doing something productive. He was hurting, but he was glad he got Dad to shut up, so to speak, and not say this has got to be done, or get her done. But the sad part of the story happened in the middle of the night, where I go and I hear crying coming from my son's room. What's he doing? He's hurting. He's in pain. What happened? We caused the inflammation to be into the legs and the arms and the shoulders from that pushing lawnmower. What had happened? I cried. What happened next? I started praying. I started fasting. I started looking for answers as to what can I do, because if my son would have died, I would have been guilty of killing him because I made him work. Just things like that going through my mind. Things like he doesn't like to feel this way and we need something better. And God honors prayer, folks. God honors the faithfulness of those reaching out to trust him. So what do I mean by that? A name came to me, and people advised me. It says, you need to take your son to Hammond, Indiana. You need to go see an osteopathic doctor there called Cal Streeter, and let him help you with your son. He will do more than just give you a medication. He will look for answers based on what's going on with that body of his. So we made an appointment with Dr. Streeter, and good little drive there. But he came in, he did his blood work, he did all the other things. And he sat us down and he said, your son, he's dying from the inside out. I said, do what? I mean, what major disease or ailment does he have? He says, no, your son body isn't strong enough in all the areas it needs to be in order for him to be able to push a lawnmower, to be able to get up and around. In other words, his muscles need to be developed. He needs to be able to have the opportunity to grow physically, mentally, spiritually. All these things your son needs. So, okay, doc, what do we do? He says, very simple. Because your son has congestion, all right, he has congestion more than one way. Well, remember I tell you about my asthma and congestion. I didn't say that at the time, but I'm talking about it now. Is that the congestion was there. So, with that in mind, he says we need to help, one, clean and detoxify the poisons that are in his system that are locked into the blood, so to speak. The liver's not doing a good enough job to clean them out. So I'm going to make you an herbal remedy. I'm going to make you, for your son, to do this drink, for him to drink. Plus, we've got these other pills. And he says, this is for his benefit to help him. With that, we took and got what we needed. Dr. Streeter sent the stuff home with us. And Mark said it tastes like crap. But he hurt so bad, he would go ahead and drink it. But the thing that happened was, within a month of putting something in the body that would help it, that would nourish it, that would actually give it the benefit to cleanse. By cleansing, what did we talk about? We talked about flushing the kidneys. We talked about the poopy fairy visiting on a regular basis and not having constipation. We talked about changing the eating habits. No white sugar, no carbonated beverages. Things that are hard on the body and doesn't give it the nourishment for it to manufacture new cells that will replace the old cells, as kick them out and have a better quality of life there. So this is what I mean about making the change in the diet. And so within 30 days, Mark was doing so much better. And with Dr. Streeter, the next step in helping, once we got the body to cleanse, detoxify, and give him where he has some energy and be able to start working the muscles and the joints so they would be able to function like they were designed to be. And I said within 30 days I had a new boy. In 90 days, it was exceptional. Here it is, we've been putting up with this stuff for years. But just because we had a doctor that thought outside of the box, by that's outside of the box, he would talk about chiropractic. He would talk about osteopath. He would talk about what's the other thing? He was a naturopathic doctor, a doctor of chiropractic, and a DO, osteopathic doctor. And he used the means of the nature to help with this. What do you mean with this? Of the body getting back into homeostasis. And with homeostasis coming into play, he was able to play. With the balancing of the body, with the physical aspect, making sure that what we ate was better than not. Making sure, just making sure it had the nourishment it had to have to make the body healthy. Okay? So we talked about my childhood and asthma and helping to quote unquote outgrow it with putting sunshine, food, all in there for us to work with. And I think, let's talk about something. Let me go back there for a moment. Remember I talked about bare feet? My feet at the end of the summer was tough enough I could walk down the railroad track in the middle with all the rock, little small stones in it, and not hurt my feet. I could walk on the rail of the railroad track that was in the hot summertime, and it would not burn my foot. In other words, basically, over the summer, my feet had become calloused. And so that's just kept on being that way. But the thing I'm leading up to, how many of you have heard about reflexology? How many of you have heard about acupressure points? Well, all of those points are in your hands, on the bottom of your feet. And as I ran, walked, abused with the hot, my foot, on the bottom of my foot, was being massaged in the sand. I didn't have somebody doing a massage for me or getting into the grooves. I had God's earth to make me run and play. And because of it, and because of the pressure points, acupressure points, on the bottom of my foot, I stimulated every one of my nerve endings in my organs inside of my body. I didn't have a clue about that. Only after I met Dr. Streeter with my son, and I'm interested in, what did you just do? Why did it just work after 90 days and we'd been putting up with this stuff for years? Just knowing that we had the ability to do that. Powerful. So the things I was doing wasn't diagnosed with a name at that time, but it was what I finally learned was happening to help me. At this point, let me share this with you. I believe, from the things I have been exposed to, things that have helped me, my family, and people I love, and even some people that I don't know, but just by passing, that God took a negative thing where I had to be special because I was with asthma. I had to be special and treated special because I didn't have the oxygen to be able to do a lot of things. But over the years and over the summers, sunshine, acupuncture in my feet in the sand, all these things added up. And now, in my senior years, oh, massage. God, they're so great. Reflexology, so powerful. Chiropractic, so beneficial. Osteopathic doctor looking to find out what's the natural approach to do this and make it work. Aromatherapy. You know, the thing that has happened since the little young'un to the senior citizen you're seeing in front of you today is that we have been robbed of specialization in the natural things and saying that we have got to do it on a pharmakeia. It's got to be a man-made pill or something to make it work. Yeah. But I go back and I look, why? Oh, why do we not go and look at how man and nature and modalities, why, oh, why do we not spend more time in them? Why, oh, why do we not learn? I have some great friends that are in the medical profession, and they believe pharmakeia has its place. They also believe that the natural remedies have their place, and they would like to have more opportunity to expand and learn what we can do with the plants. You know, I wrote down some notes, and good eating habits, cleansing, free of tension. Oh, wow. Sleep, breathing. From down here again, got to have some more sleep. And the other thing, we got to give our bodies the time it needs to heal. And when you're talking about a natural remedy, you're talking about something working with the body at its time and speed to get you where you need to go. Now, why is it that we have arthritis patients and they can actually regain their health? Where do you start? You start on cleansing and detoxifying. Get the poopy fairy to visit. You spend time peeing and not holding it. getting rid of it, and flushing it. Folks, think about this for a moment and look at the bill of sales that we have been given. How long has it been, and how many of you listening to my voice only drink bottled water? Because you say the water that's coming out of the tap, it's got stuff in it that it has to have in order for us to be able to keep it in the city and leap it in the pipes and be able to drink it. But it's a whole new industry just by having bottled water. And what is it about the water? Water is cleansing, purifying. And here's where I'm going to go back to my teaching as a child, that Jesus Christ was considered the living water. Go by and just get and check up on the Bible, look in the concordance and check up the word water and find out all the different things that are about water. So it's that, as we need to put it. Okay? One of the things that we're doing this day and time, if you're not drinking bottled water, you're drinking bottled beer, liquor, wine. Wine sales are higher than they've ever been. But please be aware that those things are acidic. And the body has to be alkaline. So if we continue to put in more acidic, then our body becomes acidic. We don't have homeostasis anymore. We're out of balance. And if we're out of balance, then we are subject to abnormal cells building in our body. Abnormal cells in our body and the wrong chemistry is going to cause us to have to put up with something going wrong. But if we can keep it from what I am seeing, in just a couple small little narratives I told you about myself, my son, and how those narratives had meaning because of the natural. And be patient, be kind, and those are the beginnings of something that gets diagnosed. And I'm just picking out arthritis. All I'm talking about is inflammation. And we get this inflammation there, and we don't have what it takes to get it gone. What do we need to do? What does we need to share? What's important for us? One, we talked about the, I had a summary on page 29 here. I want to go back to that. Don't want to skip. But it's so hard when I'm thinking about these things and I'm looking at where we are as a people and what's causing us. Well, arthritis is merely a link in a chain of ill health. What can you do? You can I can tell you, and I see which one I want to go here. Okay. Let me share this with you, and then I'm going to go back, and I can't miss out on when I decided. I told you about Mark's health. Then I'm going to tell you about Claiborne's health and how stress, aggravation, and things just kind of helped to shut my body down because I couldn't handle life as it was giving me. And then my body says, well, I can get your attention through the physical hurting. And if you see the physical hurting, maybe you'll understand that there's also spiritual there. But But I was just thinking about arthritis as one link in a chain of ill health, and the various other disorders that often exist in association with it or have preceded its development are usually closely interrelated. Accumulation of internal waste, faulty filtering of the kidneys, poor or adequate liver function, failure of the skin, throw out toxic waste, and other breakdown of essential body processes all add up to the retention of toxic end product and the accumulation of acid waste substances. This leads to internal irritation and ultimately causes a derangement in normal joint functioning with consequent destruction of the joint tissue. To defeat arthritis, the sufferer from this disease must embark upon a plan of rebuilding from within. He must look for more than just a remedy that relieves pain. He must adopt a plan of living and care that rebuilds the functioning of the glands as well as the health of the entire body. Now, let's talk about that personally. You know, a lot of us end up in relationships that are just end up, you get a divorce or you go into someone dies. Whatever the trigger may be, it's more than we can handle. And we try to deal with it. And so much is trying to rob, steal, and destroy from us. My deal was I went through one of those times in my life. My body shut down. I had an apartment upstairs. And in order for me to get upstairs from downstairs, my little legs were hurting so bad in my joints and my knees, my hips, that I could not walk up steps. In order for me to get home at night, so to speak, I would sit down on the steps and I would back up one at a time so I didn't have to bend my knees as much as I would by walking straight up. What did I do? Sought help, looked for what I could do, and then I remembered about my son. I remembered about me as a child and the things that happened. And I remembered that you have to get rid of the waste, you have to get rid of the uric acid in the system. So we started drinking water, started drinking liquid chlorophyll, started changing what I put in the mouth. No animal products at the time because of the acidic nature they are and how they imposed. My body just couldn't handle breaking down the food like it needed to be. So what did I do? I continued. One, I got in an environment that was positive. I learned to be thankful. And so whatever state you're in, be thankful, for this is the will of God concerning you. I looked for things that I could testify about and be able to feel that in me. So what happened? Because of changing my environment, changing my food, changing my relationships, change on a positive note, not a negative note. That's what I did. And I got better. And let me rush forward now to about where we are. I can tell you, if I eat too much animal protein, my joints will hurt. If I drink carbonated beverages, I will start to hurt. In other words, my body will tell me I'm screwing up the chemistry by making a little red light on the dashboard come on. And what I mean by that, had a friend of mine, still have a friend, that he rented a truck, and not growing up with vehicles too much in the city. He got one of them U-Haulers and was hauling across the country. And as he was driving, this little red light started flashing. It irritated him so bad, he took and got a Band-Aid out and put it over the red light. Guess what? He wasn't irritated by the red light anymore, which he should have been. Because down the road, that old truck stopped working because it was low in oil. So think about yourself and what are you low in that the body needs in. And I made a couple comments in here that I was thinking about, and it was talking about oxygen, breathing good air, exercise. Okay, you would come to Remedy This Naturally, and you want to help promote that. Get some CoQ10, coenzyme Q10, to be able to help with the oxidation in the bloods in the cells. So you go to the health food store and find things that you need that the body is missing and put it into your system so the system can heal itself. So, you know, I have people come in talking about gout all the time. And you cut the red meat out right quick. We do have a product called Go Out. It's G-O-U-T, Go Out. And it has the ingredients in it that helps to, with the drinking of the water, flush out the nourishment, the nourishment that needs to get out because it's used up, to put in new nourishment so it can handle it. So that's what we do at Remedy This Naturally. We offer you the opportunity. What is it that's going to help you have a better quality of life and do it naturally? And how can you get your body back into homeostasis? And what recommendations will you give yourself that you need to make changes in your diet, in your beverage? You know, if you got to have the beer, maybe you just have one a week on the weekends. That could be causing your inflammation. What is it that's causing the situations to happen, and is what you're putting in there, is it something that needs to change and have a better quality of life to do that? That's what we need to do and to make sure about, okay? So what I have tried to do today, very simple, is just go back, make it personal. I've gone back and talked about me from the beginning as a youngin', me as an old fella now, and in between some people that have crossed my paths that have been very helpful in helping me understand that this is how you can get rid of a negative circumstance in your life and in your health through the natural approach. Since I won't leave to play the commercial at the end, I'm going to say this to you. I love you. Let me know what you think about this just plain long fireside chat, right, that we've had today. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to bend an ear and to share. And I pray that God will open up the minds and the hearts, that you'll be able to see light for light, truth for truth, and His management of our lives to be taken care of the way He wants us to do it. Until we meet again, I'm your host, Claiborne Holtzman, from Remedy This Naturally, 1140 Benvenue Road. God bless.